Barry Byerley, you're going on quite an exciting holiday, rather unusual. What is it?
Well, my wife and dog, we're heading off to America. We've actually bought a motorhome over there, and we're planning to spend certainly 15 months, maybe 18 months, touring North America. So that's US, Canada and Alaska.
Canada, my home country.
Yes.
This is my home now in Australia.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes, really looking forward to it.
Oh, I can understand that.
Heading off next week, actually.
And the best of luck, my friends.
Yeah.
Barry, you were mentioning something that really interested me. Grey nomads of Australia. What's that all about?
Well, I guess it's a phenomenon that's been going on for a while now because as the baby boomers are retiring, many of them are purchasing motorhomes or caravans and heading around Australia or certainly up north. As it gets cold down south, as winter approaches, you get thousands and thousands of people heading north, basically, and from Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth,
yes,
where it gets cold in winter, and they
yes,
basically head north. And you'd be amazed how many people are heading north. And it's really good for the economy because a lot of these people are spending a lot of money, even if it's just on petrol and groceries, etc., in little towns
yes,
up in northern Australia, which really needs it.
Yes.
And it's great to see.
Oh, look, it definitely is. And another thing that really intrigued me, you were saying these are weather-based holidays.
Yes, yes.
Could you explain that a little?
Well, what happens is that they do head north when winter comes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, but not only that, if you're going around Australia, as we did in 2006, you tend to go round in an anti-clockwise manner.
Yes.
And what's happening is the wind tends to be behind you as you're going over, say, the Nullarbor, not the Nullarbor, as you're going over from Queensland to Northern Territory in Western Australia. And then as you're coming back down through Perth and then Esperance and back across the Nullarbor,
yes,
generally you've got the wind coming behind you. If you're going up in winter,
yes,
and then coming back,
yes,
in basically spring.
That's what I was getting at when I said weather-based, because I was so intrigued, and it's so wise because it's like an aircraft with the wind behind it, you know.
And you see, when you're driving a motorhome, you've got a lot of windage.
Yes.
So fuel economy is quite important.
Precisely.
And but also the weather. I mean, we spent 10 months going around Australia in 2006. And during that time, we had basically perfect weather the whole time because we were following the weather pattern. And I think we might have had 3 days of rain in 10 months.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was magic.
You've holidayed in America and, of course, Australia, but you've also holidayed in New Zealand, motorhome.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that, please?
Well, the beauty of New Zealand is that you've got so much in such a small area. We just did the South Island, and only for 3 weeks.
Right.
We just hired a motorhome.
Yes.
And did all South Island.
Wonderful.
And in 3 weeks you can really see a fair bit of New Zealand. And it really is quite beautiful.
Yes.
And it's very easy, of course, it's close. People speak English, so it's all very easy. It's fantastic.
All the Kiwis I've met in Australia are just so wonderful people. I imagine that's what they would be like in their own country.
Even more so, because
yes,
they're very proud of their own country.
Yes.
So, yeah, even more so.
The only time I've unfortunately been to, my mother-in-law was from Auckland.
Right.
But anyway, that I've been to New Zealand is flying into the airport on my way to Canada.
Yes.
But the first time I was flying in there, and I could see this long white cloud ahead, you know, and I thought, oh, that's why they call it the land of the long white cloud.
They're everywhere.
It's a magnificent country.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, really beautiful.
Barry, you just live beyond these bluffs at this magnificent beach, don't you?
I do.
Look, getting back to America, there's a lot to do. You've told me in America, when you're on a motorhome holiday, they've got, you said, something over 300 national parks.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's actually about 360. And the beauty is that they're all so different. I mean, we've only probably seen a dozen of them on the the western coast or the western part of America. And the thing which struck us, apart from being so close because there's so many, is the variety. They are some of them are just so different from one another, even when they might only be 100 miles apart. And that's a real attraction. You're really going from one sort of environment to a totally different environment. It's really wonderful.
And I recall your mentioning that you particularly liked, well, you liked so many of them, but on your previous visits, Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce was a standout, and we'd never heard of it till we'd been there. You have these wonderful orange pinnacles, hundreds and hundreds of feet high.
And what state is that in?
I think that's in Utah.
Ah, in Utah.
Yeah,
yes,
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. You just got to be aware of the climate in America, as opposed to Australia, more so.
Yes,
because
indeed.
It's more extreme.
Yes.
And so when you're travelling there, you've got to be aware where you should be at what time of year.
Absolutely, yes. If you can be down south for the winter.
Yeah.
A lot of Canadians, they actually holiday in the south, in California, Florida.
Yes.
Just to, get away from the cooler weather. I won't say cold. Cooler weather.
Particularly when you're when you're retired, you really don't need to be in the cooler weather.
Well, that's right. That's true. That's very true indeed.
Yeah. We're actually thinking of we're picking up our van in Phoenix, and we're going back to Colorado because at this time of year, the southern part, like Phoenix and Arizona, is very warm.
Yes.
So we think if we go to Colorado, where the elevation's 7 up to 14,000 feet,
yes.
It'll be cooler, and there's just so much to see. So we'll probably spend the first 6 weeks of our holiday just in Colorado.
Yes.
And even then, we won't do it justice probably.
Now, I know you're a sailor. Do you do any winter skiing, snow skiing?
Yes,
yes. Will you be doing any of that when you get a chance?
It's not necessarily on our agenda,
right.
but
yes.
we could well do some. If we're
yes.
in the area at that time of year, we could do, yes.
I'm not sure. Is the Grand Canyon considered a park area?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
I thought it might be.
Yeah, that's a very, very
I've
big
only ever
national
flown
park.
over it, but
and amazing. But it's such a big area,
yes.
It takes a lot of getting used to.
So you've been to Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Pikes Peak at all?
No.
Okay,
but we will be visiting that.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, this time.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting spot. I've always believed ever since I was a little kid.
Well, I think Colorado in particular, we haven't been there, but I've got friends who go over there every year. They've got a motorhome over there, an old one.
Yes.
And they're mad bike riders. And every year they spend 6 weeks over there bike riding through different areas of America.
Yes.
And I just had 3.5 hours with John telling me all the good places just in Colorado
yes.
to see. And it sounds quite amazing.
Just tying in with that, a friend of mine was just telling me yesterday, I was actually telling him about you, and he told me about his son who's just bought a Harley Davidson over in America.
Yes.
He's flying to Miami today. He's probably on the plane right now.
Yeah.
And he's picking up his Harley Davidson. This guy knows all about motorbikes, by the way.
Yes.
And he's driving 3,000 miles across America. And then he's packing it up, shipping it back to Australia.
Well, they have a big gathering. I think it's in late August, September.
Yes.
And they get Harley Davidson guys from all over the world. When we were there last year,
yes.
there was something like 50,000 of them.
Goodness.
And they just, it's wonderful to see them on the road.
I
and
can
particularly
imagine.
the Europeans. We saw quite a few Germans.
Yes.
With all in their leathers, with the
yes.
with the German, Harley Davidson club
yes.
of whatever town.
Yes.
And they had the American bandanas on, and these are basically grey nomads.
Yes.
And they were just loving it.
Oh,
just loving the freedom, I guess.
I can believe it. Easily.
Yeah.
Harry, that's just so interesting. Really, once again, half your luck on this most exciting holiday. I might try it.
Yeah, you should. You should.
And Jenny, my lovely wife.
Really wonderful. Do yourself a treat.
Okay, mate. Thank you.